Welcome to an introduction to percents. The main goals of this video are to convert between percents and decimals, percents and fractions and decimals. In mathematics, a percentage is a way of expressing a number as a fraction of 100, percent meaning per hundred. It is often denoted using the percent sign. So the idea is if there's a 10% chance of rain tomorrow, that means there are 10 chances out of 100, which can be written in a variety of ways, as a percent, as a fraction where the 10 is over 100, which can be simplified, and any fraction can also be written as a decimal. Let's start off by taking a look at some interesting statistics that involve percents. First, the top 20% of the population in the United States owns over 80% of all of the wealth. Next, the top 5% had more wealth than the remaining 95% of the population collectively. And I obtained these two statistics from this website. Next, Americans throw out 27% of 350 million pounds of food they buy each year. And that's from the New York Times. 47% of dogs in the United States sleep in a family member's bed, from The Week magazine. And lastly, 76% of American commuters drive to work alone. So as you can see, a lot of statistics involve percentages, and so understanding percentages is a very important concept in understanding the world around us. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to work and talk about how we're going to do these conversions. Again, the main goal is to write three kinds of notation for percentages, as a percent, fraction, and decimal. So to convert a percent to a fraction, we write the number of the percent over 100 and then simplify. So for example, if we had 15%, to convert that to a fraction, we write 15 over 100, which does simplify. There's a common factor of 5 here, which simplifies to 3/20ths. To convert from a percent to a decimal, we drop the percent sign and multiply by 0.01, which is 1/100th. This is equivalent to dropping the percent and moving the decimal to the left 2 places. So for example, if we go back to 15%, if we drop the percent sign and move the decimal to the left twice, we would have 0.15 or just 0.15. And if you read this using your place values, that would be 1500ths, which translates into writing 15% as a fraction. Now let's take a look at converting a decimal to a percent. What we need to do is multiply by 100 and then add the percent symbol. Remember, the shortcut for multiplying by 100 is moving the decimal to the right 2 places. So if we start with 0.05 and we multiply this by 100, that would move the decimal over to the right twice. That would produce the number 5. Therefore, 0.05 is equal to 5. Next, to convert a decimal to a fraction, write as a fraction with a denominator of 1. Multiply the numerator and denominator by powers of 10 to eliminate any decimals, and then simplify. So for example, if we start with the decimal 0.02, we would write this over 1. Now if we multiply the numerator by 100, it would move the decimal to the right twice. That would eliminate the decimals. So we have to multiply both the top and the bottom by 100. That would give us 2 in the numerator and 100 in the denominator, which simplifies to 1/50th. Of course, if you know your place values, you could read this as 200ths and go straight from this decimal here to the fraction notation and then simplify. And I actually like that method better. Just read this using your place values. And lastly, to convert a fraction to a decimal, we divide the numerator by the denominator. So if we have 1/5, remember the fraction bar is just a division symbol. 1 divided by 5 would give us 0.2. And to finish, convert a fraction to a percent, it's really just a combination of 2 steps previously covered. So if we start with So if we start with 1/8, we first divide the numerator by the denominator. This converts it to a decimal. And then we multiply by 100, which is like moving the decimal to the right twice. So we can conclude that 1/8 is the same as 12.5%. Okay, let's put all these pieces together by completing this table. And it looks like I just did number 1. Let's go ahead and use the calculator on this one. Now we can go from fraction to either of these two, but let's go ahead and convert from a fraction to a decimal. So we'll take the numerator and divide by the denominator, which gives us 0.125. Next, to convert this to a percentage, we need to multiply this by 100 and then add a percent sign. Or if we have our calculator, we can just multiply this by 100 to confirm and then add the percent sign. Next, we can go ahead and do the same for this second row. If we want to convert this to a percentage, we multiply by 100, add the percent sign. So we move the decimal to the right twice. We would have 120 and then add the percent. Now when we go back to fraction notation, I always like to go from the percent to the fraction. We know that 120% means 120 compared to 100. And then if we simplify this, common factor of 10, that would give us 12/10, which simplifies again to 6/5. The next row, to go from a percent to a decimal, we actually have to divide by 100 or multiply by 0.01, which means move the decimal to the left twice. So if we move it to the left twice, we would have to have 0.0015. Next, to convert this decimal to a fraction, if we can read this correctly, we can go ahead and do that. This is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So we have 15 10,000ths. And we can see we have a common factor of 5. So this would simplify to 3 over 10,000 divided by 5, give us 2,000. 3 over 2,000. Let's convert 2/3 to a decimal. So let's go ahead and get our calculator out. 2 divided by 3. Now this gives us a repeating decimal. The calculator is rounding it here. We have to recognize this as 0.6 repeating. So if we want to convert this to a percentage, remember we have to multiply by 100. Let's go and look at that on the calculator again. If we multiply this by 100, we move the decimal to the right twice, we would have 66.6 repeating. So we put a bar over these 6 and then add the percent. Moving on to this next row, again, if we can say this correctly, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, this is 3,000ths, which is how we would write this in fraction notation. And then again, in order to convert a decimal to a percentage, we multiply by 100. So move the decimal to the right twice. We would have 0.3 with the percent sign. And lastly, we have 145%. This is a number compared to 100 that gives us the fraction notation, which again can be simplified. I know we have at least a common factor of 5. 145 divided by 5 equals 29. 100 divided by 5 is equal to 20. And from here, we've already done several conversions from percentage to decimal. Let's go ahead and convert this fraction to a decimal. We would just have to take 29 and divide by 20. And hopefully it does make sense that we obtain 1.45. And the reason I say that is we've already converted several percentages to decimals by dividing by 100 or multiplying by 0.01, which means move the decimal to the left twice, which creates 1.45 without the percent. Okay, I hope this quick overview on how to do those conversions was helpful. Thank you for tuning in.